time on the clock. The Falcon has to fly higher, he has to strike faster. You either rise now or it's all over.
And let's be clear as well, I feel like going into this matchup, a lot of people expected Carlsen to maybe get a bit of an edge over the board, but Firouzja to apply time pressure on Carlsen because of how quick he is. In reality, Carlsen has been on the receiving end in a good way of both of those traits. So it felt like Firouzja didn't have much to work with. That needs to change.
It needs to change, and something that has changed is Alireza Firouzja's first move. In the first set, he was playing e4 against Magnus Carlsen. Now, with white starting this set with those white pieces, Firouzja's gone back to something that served him well earlier in the event. He's been playing d4, and a quick capture of a pawn, that black d-pawn not running away anytime soon. And Magnus, look at this. He played h6 last move. He plays h5 now. He's definitely prepared. No chance this would have been mouse slip. No chance this would have been sudden, spur-of-the-moment inspiration. This is Magnus Carlsen going for Firouzja's king.
Very early on. The king coming for his opponent's king in this one, making his intentions clear. He's not thinking about development right now, but at some point, Magnus needs to get his pieces out. If he has to attack successfully in this game, h5 forces Alireza to go into a tank, and that's a small victory for Magnus already. He's seen that work out to his favor. He knows that Alireza in that break between set 1 and set 2 had prepared the queen's pawn opening. And this is where he counter-surprises him.
This is actually very, very impressive to start us off. Like you said, Tanya, queen's pawn opening. Okay, we're switching it up for set 2. And instantaneously, Carlsen sends Alireza thinking very, very early on. He's now got a 30-second lead. But that's not the point. This was supposed to be a surprise that got Firouzja extra time on the clock. That hasn't happened. At least, not yet.
Not yet. Magnus there reacting to a question mark move by returning the pawn that he was up. Yes, he could have gone a pawn up, Magnus, by trading, but that would have accelerated the opponent's development. Instead, he's happy to kind of transpose from what looked like it was about to be a fiery position with the black h-pawn going forward. Instead, he's playing more positionally here. Almost symmetrical in the center. Magnus clearly the better prepared of these two players.
So what's the plan B now for Firouzja? Suddenly he's worried about, well, maybe not right now, but he's worried about h4. He's worried about the kingside pawn storm, trying to figure out what Magnus's plan is. He doesn't want to spend too long doing it, though. So what is he doing in the meantime? How are we going to be improving the pieces? Is there a plan B?
It's a really tough question to answer, and I think Alireza struggles with it as well, as he continues to think, you know, Magnus, especially when you know, is prepared in this line.
Right.
My guess would be that coming into this match, Magnus had certain ideas for the king's pawn opening, and he'd also seen the queen's pawn opening. And this is something that was part of his repertoire for this grand final. And Firouzja is very aware of that, because h5 cannot be over-the-board inspiration. This is a move you've seen at home.
I think I've seen it actually published in some magazines, some books, maybe some other resources, this funny idea of the black h-pawn moving twice, as if he forgot, Magnus, for a moment, that pawns can move 2 squares on their first go. Ultimately, Firouzja, he's repeated a mistake that a lot of us make. He's played the same opening multiple times in the same tournament, and Magnus, of course, he will have studied what Firouzja's been doing on previous days. And ultimately, it's just a level position, but that's a success for whoever starts with black.
And you know, moves like this, after playing h6, you go h5, it's sort of like a one-trick pony. You use it for one game, because you know that your colleagues, your competition will be preparing it for the next one, and it's not objectively the best move. So Magnus choosing this stage, where Alireza has got no increment, no bonus time, a very practical play by the world number 1.
And also, don't forget, you move h6 and then h5, the casual observer will rightly go, well, hang on a second, you're just giving away a tempo. But the point is, all of your opening preparation, all of the positions your opponent has memorized, all of the plans that they're thinking about, even though that tempo is to their advantage, you're now having to recalculate all of that a move out. And it's super frustrating to have to do that, not just for one line, but for all of your opening preparation.
Yeah, and in the meantime, a question mark move appears, but I just want to backtrack and show for some eagle-eye viewers what might have happened if white tried to go a pawn up. He could have played bishop takes knight, Alireza, and we would have seen a recapture. White could have captured this h5 pawn that we've been talking so much about, but here the black g pawn pushes forward, pawn to g5, hitting the white knight. If you retreat, now you can trap the white queen. The bishop comes out, and when the queen retreats, you go back to f5. Look at this, embarrassed queen coming out too early. This is why they say, don't bring those pieces out too soon. So this variation quickly calculated by both players, quickly avoided by Alireza Firouzja, and that leaves us with a very level-looking middle game. Again, everything he wants to try, Alireza, all these sharp lines seem to be working in Magnus's favor. And just to point out, the move that he gained by Magnus pushing h6 then h5 is a pawn push to b3. And actually that pawn on b3 gets in the way of the white queen and loosens the dark squares. That is why Magnus's strategy has been so effective.
That's such a key point, because the extra move that you have is actually not only one that doesn't give you any advantages, but might have actually given your opponent something to play for. And this is sort of the hard part in chess, right? When you know your opponent in the opening has wasted a move, how do you play something that long run works in your favor? And it looks like this time Alireza did not find the right way.
You give yourself that sort of pressure, don't you? Because psychologically you think, well, there is no way this is the best move, h6 then h5. I feel like it's my duty here to punish that, to show you why that's inaccurate, to show you why that leads to an advantage for me. And it just adds additional pressure to make that right move. And if you're unable to do that, then what looked like a silly move suddenly looks pretty sensible.
I want to point out one more thing, speaking about the dynamics, as you pointed out, John, in this position, White would love to play h4 and stop that black pawn from moving forward. But the bishop complexes are such that black's the one who can take advantage of the light square weakness that would be the g4 point. But meanwhile, White does not have the dark squared bishop. So after h4, you don't have a bishop to plonk on g5.
Right.
But the g4 square beautifully there for Magnus would have been left behind. So now, basically, for the rest of the game, or at least until White plays h4, Magnus is always threatening to push that pawn even further ahead.
I just want to point out as well, look at the clock. Nothing has changed in terms of time usage from the first set. Firouzja down 2.5 minutes. Might not sound like much, but we've been here before. We've seen what happened.
This is dangerous now. Firouzja maybe thought, rather than change the time management, let's change the opening and see if that leads as a natural consequence to the time management being a little bit easier, to the inequality being a little bit less. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's the case. He started with the queen's pawn opening, and the situation on the clock is now starting to get as bad as it was in set number 1. So he is trying something different. Let's give him credit where it's due, but so far at least, doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, we've been talking about tennis, how the kind of format of the finals, it's in sets. Having white is like having the serve in tennis. That's what they used to say. You can choose to go e-pawn, d-pawn. Ultimately, though, your opponent is expecting you to mix up those serves occasionally, to go different directions, and he chose to serve with a different hand. He went d4 this time, but Magnus was waiting. Magnus was ready. And now, okay, it's all about the c-file, but it looks solid enough for black.
But so far, speaking of tennis, I mean, the play from Alireza throughout the match feels like it's from baseline. He needs to somewhere come and do those volleys if he's got to have a chance against Magnus. But this position, I don't even see a way for a break to appear on the board.
No break. If anything, it's going to be all rooks off on the c-file. And Firouzja's done nothing wrong in terms of kind of objective moves. It's probably just an equal position, but that's not what he wants with the white pieces.
And speaking of breaks, if anyone's got that, it's got to be Magnus, right? The e5 pawn moving forward at some point, the h pawn moving ahead at some point. So Magnus also holding the keys to opening up this position.
Agreed. All the options seem to be favoring white here, not necessarily meaning that they, lead to victory instantaneously or anything like that, but certainly the options in terms of what strategic direction the game is going to go in. The initiative very firmly in Magnus's favor for now. And that's not a problem if there was time on the clock. The problem is Firouzja is 3 minutes down as well. 7 versus 4, you know what? Totally fine. But if this gets into another 4 versus 1 scenario, that can very quickly become a blunder.
3.5 minutes. It's not a blunder from Firouzja, but I'm going to say a small miss from him. He underestimated Magnus's knight going to the edge of the board here. I'm really surprised he didn't just bring the other white rook to the c-file. Now there's going to be tension, and look at this, he's forced to retreat due to the tension. The white knight was pinned, and after this trade, black is going to be the one conquering the open lines. Look at this, the white knight hit Firouzja. He's reeling, retreating, forced to react to these threats. Magnus is on fire, I've got to say.
He really is. I mean, it's just incredible what he's done in this match so far. He's not only dominating on the board, he's winning the psychological warfare here against Alireza. Just the way he played that set 1. The 2 times, Alireza is very aware that Magnus could have even tried to flag him in those 2 games that eventually ended in a draw. Magnus didn't even want to do that. He finished the set with a checkmate on the board.
This looks slow and steady and inevitable coming in from Magnus. The queen and the rook battery on the C line. There's not very much at all. In fact, there's pretty much nothing Alireza can do to prevent infiltration from the queen on the next move, if that's what Magnus wants. And what's frustrating is Magnus has done this on a fraction of the time that Alireza has taken, and that's really what hurts the most, because speed was supposed to be Alireza's greatest weapon.
We're 24 moves in. Magnus has not spent more than 21 seconds on a single move. Alireza, meanwhile, it's about half a dozen moves he's spent around the 1 minute mark. And okay, he's kicked the black knight back, but that's not going to help at all. White knight sidelined. The pace of this game, the black queen coming in soon, it all spells danger.
This has been so strange. Just the positions that we've gotten in the match so far, Alireza really never get going. You know, in any of the boards, in any of the games that we've seen, not getting his kind of play, not getting his kind of positions where he really, really excels at. Hikaru managed to do that. You know, again, from the back foot. When he played that King's Indian defense, he just went all out. Somehow, Alireza hasn't been able to get that on the board for himself.
And that looked similar to what Magnus is doing in this game, because Hikaru was able to engineer a situation where he built a small advantage and kept building on it and kept building on it and shut down Magnus's counterplay. And you could tell in that game yesterday, Magnus was very uncomfortable when that situation happened. We need Firouzja to be able to engineer the same thing, but he hasn't been able to.
Look at this, another question mark move appears. The bar slides, saying that Magnus has an over 3-point advantage. That's because Alireza's moved up a pawn, weakening his king. It might be time for the black queen to swoop in. So many targets in mind there. The black rook as well. Hopefully, he would be hoping that it lands on c4. The black bishop there on d3 instead, hitting a white rook. Not the best from Magnus, but good enough to maintain the advantage. I think he's going for the queen trade here, Tanya. He's going to be hoping that he can pick off the white b-pawn in the near future. The only thing Magnus has to be careful of is counter play here from queen to e7 incoming.
And that would combine the queen and the knight attack on the f7 pawn, so definitely something that you want to think about. You know, the bar says Magnus is doing great, but you see a move like queen e7 as your opponent's threat, and you start thinking about, maybe I need to be a little careful, need to go on the defense here. But the good news for Magnus is, even if that was to happen, the bishop can always slide back. Go back to g6 and keep everything protected. So Magnus, will he try the queen trade? He doesn't. He does, in fact, go on that defense, making sure that Alireza does not get queen e7. The knight retreats, the queen defends.
A bit odd, actually, Magnus's bishop move, allowing this white knight to jump back with gain of time. And here Alireza at least has corrected one of his bad pieces to some extent, but still hard to find a plan for white. If you push any further pawns on the king side, you're only weakening yourself. You're not ready. And it does feel like Magnus, he's clearly playing on the clock. He's not even trying to come in and create any complications. He's just biding his time.
White would love to be able to get the knight out to d3 so that you can slide the rook across to c1 and actually create some sort of opposition on the c file. Can't do that because of the bishop on g6, unfortunately. And as a result, not only is the position a little bit binding, but the most obvious idea is also being bound. So we're being forced to think of alternatives now. The bishop comes in thinking about coming into d3 to try and get that plan in motion, but black immediately slides in with the queen to c2, not allowing enough time.
And he's also threatening his own rook to swoop onto that c3 square with further ideas and tactics of attacking the knight, which has just moved back to that square. Magnus's queen looking beautiful, the rook on the open line. Just compare Magnus's pieces to Alireza's forces here. You know, all of them, most of them on the first rank, the other two left on the board are on different sides of the board. Not combining, no play to be found. Magnus has basically denied Alireza any activity in this entire match. You know, David, you said Magnus on fire. It's usually Firouzja, and that's not been the case. Liquid Carlsen's extinguished all flames in this one.
I mean, he absolutely loves Alireza, that is. These big, dynamic positions where there's lots and lots of attacking, but Magnus is just shutting him down so hard at every opportunity that he hasn't got the opportunity, really, to give us that flair that we know he's capable of, and he's struggling in those conditions.
Yeah, there's something up with Alireza's clock handling as well. Maybe it's due to the type of position, maybe it's just due to the opponent. And there we go, Magnus making his move. G5 looks super aggressive. It's actually designed to just paralyze, immobilize the white knight on the edge of the board. We're down to bullet territory, 40 seconds. The red appearing for Alireza Firouzja. He needs to move. This game is still in its infancy. This is still the early middle game. He's trying to blow open the center now. He's got to change the pace, Alireza, but barring a blunder, surely not enough time.
And that's the thing, when you change the pace, you need more time on the clock to handle all those critical decisions that come out of that gear shift. But Alireza now 36 seconds on the clock. Bullet territory, synonym for that is Alireza Firouzja. But he's so slow on every single move.
And Magnus has blundered. Magnus has not realized that the white rook can step up one square, kicking the black queen away from the defense of its knight. Magnus, we're going to see a reaction from him. He's going to have to switch gears and try to flag. He's just lost a piece.
Whoa. Magnus Carlsen, will he go on to flagging mode now? That one big inaccuracy. We've seen him not play on the clock earlier in this match. Is this when it all changes?
Wow, carelessness from the world number one. He knew that he was getting closer and closer to his goal of claiming the first game of this set too. But now the black queen, kicked away off the diagonal, will not be able to defend its knight. The tactics go on. Magnus is going to have to calculate his way out of this.
And it's pretty complex, right? Because black has the option of pinning that bishop on the first rank, trying to target the other knight at the edge of the board. Magnus, he's gone in to find that resource mode right now. There are still tactics that exist, but Magnus, is he finding them?
That is a huge shift. Magnus now, he's going to have to show us something that he hasn't been reluctant to do so far in this match. He has to flag Firouzja. He's going to have to try and create some tricks here, Magnus.
It's Alireza with 24 seconds, but it's Magnus Carlsen who's panicking right now.
Oh, look at Magnus's face. He is shocked. He's given up his queen, the world number one. Here we go. It's rook and knight for a queen. Alireza Firouzja is winning, but does he have enough time on the clock? This is the best position he's had all match, all day. The black king's so open as well. It's a race against the clock, 21 seconds. Can he convert?
That is the big question. Will it be enough time? He needs to combine that queen and bishop. First, he completely disconnects black's rook, and Alireza with a shake of his head, just wishing he had that extra minute on the clock.
Magnus Carlsen is busted. The black rook is about to be hit. The white queen is coming in. There we go. Black's pieces can barely move. The queenside pawns are gone, but 16 seconds. Magnus is going to have to be dirty about this.
Alireza has to win this. He has to convert this game at all costs right now. 16 seconds. This is where his bullet skills need to come in. Magnus trying to survive.
Black rook can barely move. There we go. The first pawn drops. The black rook coming in with a check. Some counterplay, some hope for Magnus Carlsen, but Firouzja's done everything right. He has activated God mode, Alireza Firouzja. He's pushing the B pawn forward for glory. It's creating counterplay for Magnus Carlsen in the meantime. 11 seconds, Tanya, is it going to be enough?
That is the big question. Alireza Firouzja can get maximum number of moves when he's down on the seconds, better than anyone else in the world, and that's what he needs to do right now. Will he convert into a full point? He gives it up. Another queen appears on the board.
And Magnus blunders his rook.
He's about to resign.
Wow, Alireza Firouzja striking back. He's got two queens. 7 seconds should be more than enough. Magnus Carlsen gives up. What a turnaround.
An opening surprise and counter surprise not working out for Firouzja, leading to 5 minutes versus 1, but getting into a winning position with 20 seconds left on his clock and managing to convert against the world number one. We have fireworks and a couple of moments of magic here from Alireza Firouzja. Falcons are back on the board.
And we have a match on our hands with that big win. Alireza Firouzja, what a roller coaster of a game. And you could see it on Magnus Carlsen. He was furious with himself. This was his game. Alireza down to 25 seconds when Magnus made that blunder. But what a convert there by the Falcons.